Welcome to Stampede Meat, a family-owned company that has been in operation since 1994. Our newly constructed 140,000 square foot processing facility opened for production in the fall of 2003. The state-of-the-art facility makes Stampede Meat the newest and the largest steak cutting facility in the Chicagoland area. As a new employee, Stampede would like to review our rules and policies for good manufacturing practices with you. The objective of these rules and policies is to provide a clean, healthy, and a safe atmosphere for Stampede employees and a clean and sanitary product for our customers. Food defense is an important part of our job at Stampede. We need to know who is in our plant and when. Each of you is given a valid photo identification badge. Wear this badge at all times while on company property. Do not share your identification badge with anyone else. All employees are given an access code for entry to the building. Do not share or let anyone in with your code. If you see someone you do not recognize without valid identification, tell your supervisor. Stampede is inspected by the USDA. We operate under a food safety program known as HACCP. HACCP stands for Hazard, Analysis, and Critical Control Point. It is a system that focuses on food safety hazards. The hazards are controlled through critical control points. Stampede has 2 critical control points. The first critical control point is the temperature of our storage areas. The second is the release of product after microbiological testing results. Employees are required to have clean attire for work each day. Clothing that is fuzzy or has fur on it is not allowed. Employees that have any open sore or obvious signs of illness should report to HR to determine if they are able to work in a food contact job. No candy. No bracelets. No cough drops. No earrings. No gum. No nail polish. No artificial nails. No necklaces. No rings with stones. No watches. No cameras. No cell phones. No false eyelashes. No face glitter. No lotion. No perfume. You will be assigned a locker where you can keep your personal belongings. However, food and beverages may not be stored in your locker, and you may not consume food or beverages in the locker room areas. There are designated areas in the employee break lunchroom where you can store your food and beverage for breaks and lunch times. Should your job require any equipment, you will be assigned a locker where you will keep these items when you are not using them. Hairnets are to be worn in a plant at all times. All hair must be covered. This is the proper way to wear your hairnet. Then you may put on your bump cap or helmet. If you have a beard and do not wish to shave, you must wear a beard net. All beard, facial hair must be covered. All employees working in the production area will be provided with a clean frock, a hairnet, a bump cap, cotton gloves, and vinyl gloves. When directly handling products, sleeves, aprons, and a beard net will be provided when applicable. Hand wash procedure. Washing hands thoroughly and sanitizing is necessary to protect against contamination by undesirable microorganisms. Hand washing stations are provided at entrances to the production area. You are to wash and sanitize your hands whenever you enter the production area. Hand washing must also be conducted immediately after any of the following tasks: when reporting to work, after a break period, after smoking, eating or drinking, after using the toilet facilities, and at any other appropriate time necessary to maintain good sanitation. The following procedure is to be used to wash hands. Turn the water on using the foot button and allow to run until the water is warm. Wet your hands with warm water. Apply about a tablespoon of soap using the dispenser. A tablespoon is the amount of soap on a hand about the size of a silver dollar. And wash your hands for 10 to 20 seconds. Rinse your hands thoroughly with warm water. Dry your hands with a clean paper towel. You may need 2 to 3 sheets. Dispose of the used paper towels in the red trash cans. Apply sanitizer. Apply about a tablespoon of sanitizer using the sanitizer dispenser onto your hand and rub your hands together, covering the fronts and the backs of your hands. Personal hygiene. The frock is to be worn over your freezer jacket. If you are wearing a hooded jacket, remember to wear the hood under your frock or covering your head with the helmet on top. When applicable, you will be given 2 aprons to wear, plastic and cloth. Plastic disposable sleeves are to be worn over the arm area of your frock when desired. Cotton gloves are to be worn with the blue vinyl gloves over them. When you are working on a line and you need to sneeze, turn away from the product and sneeze. If you need to blow your nose, leave the line and go to the hand wash sink. Remove your gloves and blow your nose. Remember to wash and sanitize your hands before returning to the line. At times you may suddenly feel that you need to scratch your face or cough. The proper way to do these are to use the inside of your frock to scratch and itch. When you feel the urge to cough, do so by coughing into your frock after you have turned away from the product. If your plastic gloves become torn or tattered, replace them. Species separation. Stampede Meat makes beef, pork, and poultry products. Products, employees, frocks, and other tools that are used with one kind of meat must be kept separate from those used with other kinds of meat. This is known as species separation. Stampede uses frocks that are different colors to tell the difference between employees that are working in different areas and with different kind of meat. There will be areas designated for hanging up frocks and used for different meats. If meat other than beef is being prepared, a hand and meat wash station will be designated to be used with the meat. Workers using with one kind of meat should not use a sink designated for a different meat. Employees working with one kind of meat should keep themselves apart from employees working with a different meat in order to avoid contaminating each other's clothing or equipment. Employees should also stay away from areas that have been designated for use with a different meat than the one they are working with. If a production area changes over from one kind of meat to another, there must be a complete sanitation cleanup of the area and a complete change of protective equipment such as frocks, sleeves, and gloves for the employees before work on a new meat can begin. Frocks and helmets. White frock, green helmet, supervisors and upper management. White frock, white helmet, HACCP, and Food Safety Manager, USDA. White frock, blue helmet, assistant supervisor, and product development. White frock, yellow helmet, quality control technicians. White frock, gray helmet, Stampede sanitation crew personnel. White frock, red helmet, food contact personnel, beef. Gray frock, red helmet, food contact personnel, pork. Red frock, red helmet, food contact personnel, poultry. Tan frock, red helmet, Sonova personnel. Blue frock, brown helmet, non-food contact personnel. Blue frock, black helmet, maintenance personnel. Production containers. Stampede has implemented a color-coded system on product containers to differentiate between edible and inedible containers. Gray tubs are for edible product, yellow tubs are for inedible product and may be placed directly on the floor. Green tubs are for poultry product. White clear and greenish clear containers are for edible products. Gray barrels are for edible product, yellow barrels are for inedible product, white barrels are for gloves, sleeves, and or cloth aprons. Gray and blue edible barrels may often contain marinades which should be labeled and covered. Red barrels are for trash. When a gray barrel, which contains edible product, needs to be emptied into a labeled combo, the barrel should be picked up by 2 employees. Each employee will grab one of the handles, lift the barrel, and dump it into the labeled combo without touching the bottom of the barrel which has been on the floor. Care must be taken to avoid dragging the edible barrels on the floor, as this may result in damage to the exterior bottom of the barrel, creating a risk for bacterial contamination. When you see a small piece of meat that is too small for production use and or meat scraps on the floor, you should pick the meat up. Place it into a yellow barrel or an edible barrel. Discard your gloves or wash and sanitize your gloved hands before returning to the line. When you see a piece of trash, such as a piece of paper towel on the floor, you should pick it up. Throw it into a red barrel, discard your blue gloves, or wash and sanitize your gloved hands before returning to the line. Production cleaning utensils. In order to prevent any possible cross-contamination, cleaning equipment used by production employees is color-coded. Green is for equipment to be used for the floors such as brooms and squeegees. Blue is for hand tools that are used to clean table surfaces. Product handling, meat wash procedure. The following procedures are to be followed anytime a pieces of meat or meat byproduct, except ground meat, comes in contact with a contaminated surface of any sort. All meat that is dropped on the floor or that comes in contact with an unsanitary surface must be cleaned to prevent contamination and any unsafe product conditions before it can be put back into production. Meat will only be washed at a designated meat wash sink. The meat is taken to the designated meat wash sink. Any visible contamination should be trimmed off, and the portion trimmed off should be placed into inedible. If the visible material cannot be completely removed by trimming, the contaminated meat should be discarded into an inedible container. Place the meat in the designated meat wash sink and wash the entire surface of the meat thoroughly. Set the washed meat in a meat wash sink. Wash gloves at the hand wash sink or discard gloves if there is a buildup of fat or meat residue and put on a new pair. With clean gloves, pick up the washed meat and sanitize the meat by using a labeled spray bottle containing 2.5% lactic acid. The lactic acid is applied to the entire surface of the meat. The person who has completed washing the meat will return the meat to its proper place in production. If his/her gloves have come in contact with any unsanitary surface while performing the meat washing, the gloves should be washed or discarded. Ground product will not be washed when it becomes contaminated from contact with an unsanitary surface. Any and all ground product that comes in contact with unsanitary surface should be discarded into an inedible container. Handling boxes and meat. When removing meat from the box, deboxing, it is very important to have one person opening the box who is a non-food contact employee, the employee in the blue frock, and one employee removing the packaged meat from the box who is a food contact employee, the employee in the white frock. This is done because the box is considered to be soiled and you do not want to transfer any contamination to the meat item. This is also required by the USDA. Knife dips, sanitary knife sharpeners, spatulas. During a production day, your cutting knife may need to be cleaned to remove some of the excess product buildup. To clean your knife, walk to the nearest knife dip sanitation station and put the blade of the knife into the knife dip for about 10 seconds. The water in the knife dip is 180 degrees Fahrenheit, which is required by the USDA for adequate sterilization. Your cutting knife needs to be sharp so that you may perform your cutting tasks more efficiently. You will use a knife sharpener located at your work area. To use the sharpener, drag the knife through the stainless wires several times. Your cutting surface should remain clean and sanitary. To clean your cutting surface, use the spatula to scrape the meat buildup off the cutting surface. This meat buildup should be discarded into inedible barrels. When you are not using the spatula, please store it at the back edge of the cutting table between the white surface and the stainless back. Break time. When the bells sound, that will most likely alert you that it is break time. You will remove your gloves and sleeves when applicable and leave them at your workstation. Do not place your gloves on top of cardboard boxes as they may be dirty or on top of the product. Place them neatly on your work surface on a clean area. You will hang your frock and apron on the designated hooks provided in the plant. Remember to look at the number above the hook so that you can retrieve your frock after break. White frocks will be hung separately from blue frocks. Blue frocks will be hung at the far ends of the rack. Red frocks for poultry and gray frocks for pork will have a separate designated hooks on the racks. If you are going to use the restroom, please remove your freezer coat and hang it on the hook on the inside of the restroom door before using the toilet. Tags and/or labels. You will occasionally see the following tag throughout the plant. The red hold tag is used by the Quality Assurance Department and the HACCP and Food Safety Manager. The yellow QA hold tape may be used to section off an area. These quality assurance holds can only be removed by the quality assurance techs or the HACCP and Food Safety Manager. The beige US rejected or retained tag is only used by the USDA inspector in charge and can only be removed by the USDA inspector in charge. It is your responsibility to abide by the purpose of these tags. SSOP, Standard Sanitation and Operations Procedure. Standing water on the floor. There should be no standing water on a production area floor. When cleanup from the previous night is over, there is usually water on the ceiling. This is known as condensation. Before work starts, it must be removed. If water is seen dripping on contact surfaces, meat, or packing, we have to take corrective actions. If you see dripping water anywhere, let your supervisor know immediately. Covered and labeled marinade barrels. Marinades should be covered and labeled. Blue barrels are also used as edible containers. Label all containers, food-grade oil bottles, sanitizer bottles. All containers should be labeled to identify the contents. Coiled hose. Keep hoses off the floor when not in use. If there's an equipment failure that production associates can repair while work continues, the following food safety measures should be taken to prevent product contamination. Make sure the tools to be used are clean. Don't place tools on the floor or on food contact surfaces. Don't place equipment parts on the floor or other unsanitary surfaces. Wash and sanitize any product contact parts of the machine if necessary when finished. Wash and sanitize your hands and change your gloves. If there's an equipment failure that needs maintenance work during production, the following food safety measures must be taken to prevent product contamination. These measures should be done before maintenance starts the repair. Place a hold tag on the equipment to be worked on. Cover or move labeled edible containers from the area. All exposed products that cannot be removed from the area must be covered and labeled. Contact surfaces not being worked on must be covered. Maintenance personnel working on machines during production should not place parts, nuts, bolts, screws, tools, etc. directly on product contact surfaces or the floor. They should maintain control of their parts, nuts, bolts, screws, tools, etc. by placing them on a clean piece of cardboard to prevent product contamination. When repairs are finished, product contact surfaces should be cleaned and sanitized. Allergens are foods that can make some people ill. varying from mild to severe. At Stampede, we have processes to control allergens. We wash equipment and machines between allergens or run them in specific order to prevent crossing them from one food to another. In this facility, the allergens are wheat, soy, egg, and dairy products. They are found in our marinades, rubs, and breadings. Tree nuts and shellfish are also allergens we have in the facility but are not exposed to foods here. Spice mixing room. When placing spices onto a pallet, it is good manufacturing practice to place a barrier between the wooden pallet and a box of spices. When closing a spice bag, it is important to make sure that the separated bag layers are closed in the following manner. This will ensure allergen control and keep the spice clean and dry. Fold in the inner layer like you are wrapping a present. Fold in the outer layer, or you can roll the outer layer down. Secure with packing tape. End of shift. At the end of the production shift, you will discard your blue vinyl gloves, plastic sleeves, and plastic apron into the red trash barrels. Place your cloth apron, cotton gloves, and frock into the proper containers. Cotton gloves are to be placed into the white barrels. Stampede Meat thanks you for your time in reviewing our good manufacturing practices.